right, so welcome to Soul Vegetarian Kenya Food Thought.
Hi, my name is Anthony Briggs, also known as Sar Yatzileel. I am director here at Soul Vegetarian and also director for Paradise Natural Living Society.
You want to just give a quick breakdown of both Paradise and Soul Vegetarian?
Yes. Paradise Natural Living Society is a community-based organization, CBO, here in Kenya. And we are primarily concerned with the people from the standpoint in a very holistic kind of way, concerned about the environment, concerned about the food environment in which people, can get and obtain food, and just the general social well-being of the people. But we understand fundamentally as our core that no real serious development can take place on the back of sick people. And has been said in the past that most disease begins with the fork. And so we seek to address those issues relative to dealing with organic food production, as well as to your plate, what you actually put in your mouth, and hence Soul Vegetarian. We've been here in Kenya roughly about 7 years now, and it's been a great experience working with my team to introduce the Kenyan market to veganism. When I came back in 2009, it was people didn't have any sense of awareness about what veganism was. But now, being really, I call it an honor to serve our people at this level, to have an actual 100% vegan restaurant, along with a vegan school even, has been a great milestone in my life.
Now, the school is something that I feel like so many people don't even know how to fully comprehend, because people are very accustomed to very specific structures when it comes to schools and education and things like that. So why don't you dive in a bit more on the school, what inspired it, and what the actual approach is?
Right. The school really emanated from a desire, one, to teach my own children. And when we consider the educational institutions around Africa, they still come out of a very colonial mindset, all right? And so in taking that space back, as an educator myself, trained in the U.S., that I just had to believe enough in myself that I could actually teach my own kids, because that's part of the hurdle, because we believe in these other systems so much rather than what we've been taught our own self, because the skills we have, you know what I'm saying? And so the desire to kind of merge these things. I know all this kind of seems disjointed, a school, a restaurant, and organic agriculture, but they're actually all really tied in together. And that's what we sought to do with Paradise Natural Living Societies, because we have to teach the children. To some degree, trying to change old heads, if you will, is a bit of an uphill task, because people, as you get older, become very set in your ways, and those changes become quite difficult. So if we begin this process at a very early age in terms of helping children understand the importance of taking care of the environment, all right, the importance of taking care of your body and putting the right things in your mind, then we can get some far better outcomes for our people. And while we're not a big school, we consider ourselves to be a micro school, our impact can be great based upon, we know through our history, that we have seen individuals, literal individuals, come through and change society and change humanity. So our goal is to create young, healthy minds that can be impact players in the future and for a greater society. And the way we're doing this, once again, is through Paradise Natural Living Society, working with them, working in harmony with the restaurant, and working in harmony with the environment. That's how we get these outcomes, is what we do.
Beautiful. And with the school, are there any specific outlets that people could possibly use if they want to support?
Yes, absolutely. We have an online website, with the donation, button there. And also you can just come by and talk to us we're here located in Westlands on Packer Road, at Feta Plaza. And we can have a real conversation about what real change looks like in the community. It's a very hands-on and grassroots effort, all right? And the change can come. It's not so much about trying to be political or, forcing people to do anything, be it their diet or be how they think, but really kind of offering a new way, another way to think about it. Because all we've been given many times is from the past, from our colonial masters and what have you, and they have defined our future. But when we begin to kind of what they've been afraid of for so long is us defining our own selves. We were okay as long as we accepted their definitions of what we should be, how we should act, how we should speak, what we should be taught. But the minute we begin to change that paradigm is when we become a real threat. But it's not even so much about being a threat to anyone, all right? It's really about accepting who we are. And once we can get to that space, and if we help the young ones get to that space much younger, then that puts them in a more powerful position that they can get to that I am very early on in their lives and self-actualize. And a lot of the struggles that we had growing up that they don't have anymore. And that's the legacy, I believe, that we have to leave to our children. Not even so much about being this or that, but them being in real control of their lives and knowing how to access and get the information they need. Because on one level, it's about our people really thinking again. Because despite all the technology that exists, and I'm a tech head, I love technology. One thing I see time and time again, it doesn't replace thinking. A computer thinking and you thinking is two different things. It's not the same thing. And it can be an extension of you, just like a car is an extension of you. Of course you could walk. You know what I'm saying? You can walk anywhere on this planet. There's some people who actually do that, who take up these long journeys around the globe, all right? But if we use technology in such a way that it helps propel our thinking forward, all right, to do more going forward in a sustainable way, then we can begin to make some meaningful impacts on humanity. But it does not replace the thinking process. And if we make that mistake, all right, then we do ourselves a disservice. And we do the technology a disservice. And that's not what we want.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now that there's a basis that people have where they understand who you are, where you're coming from, what your intentions are. Mm-hmm. I think that because also being based in Kenya, it's very important to also not only serve the Kenyan people well, mm-hmm. but also see what their thoughts, feelings, and curiosities and questions might be. So we have Dennis here, mm-hmm. and he has some questions mm-hmm. that I think many people throughout Kenya might also have.
Okay.
The first question I wanted to ask was, what Kenyan dishes have you veganism?
How about what?
Veganism, the Kenyan dishes.
Funny enough, all right, Kenyans actually do eat a lot of vegetables already. That in and of itself has not been a difficult thing. Because for the most part, all right, when you look at how they comprise their plates, they really only eat meat like that on a special occasion. It is not an everyday thing for them, all right? So on a celebration or something, they'll do, they'll have meat or what have you. But on the everyday thing, it's not on the table like that. So to some degree, it's really just being about reintroducing people to themselves and helping them see the benefits of a plant-based diet. Because they just kind of ate like they ate out of tradition, or this is just how we eat, all right? Or, all right, they just ate to get full. So eating is about nutrition, all right? It's not just simply about getting the belly full. It's about nutrition. Because even we know Skuma Wiki, all right, is to help me get through the week, all right. We didn't look at Skuma Wiki as food like that. It was just something to fill my stomach. But when we look at it, because we serve kales, you know, like we serve ugali, we serve these things, but we help people look at food a whole different kind of way. And that's what's important. So the challenge has been many times is to kind of broaden, more than anything else, is to broaden the diet, where people just aren't eating beans and rice or a big plate of ugali and greens, but to expand that, because we don't get enough variety in our diet, all right? And many times that's what can make the difference between a hospital visit or not, because the body will take care of itself, all right? But we have to make sure we give the body what it needs in order to do that. And this is just not a consciousness that has been built into our people along the way. Hence, having a school, and they get this from Go, so the children have the information that they need very early on so they can make intelligent decisions about their health. Because one thing we do see that Kenya is full of is chemists, all right? But as we can see, the preponderance of chemists in the neighborhood doesn't mean the preponderance of good health. There's no relationship between the two, all right? Because understand this thing, all right, that running a chemist, nothing against my chemist friends out there, all right, but the business model for a chemist, all right, is that they need people to be sick, because that's their consumer base. They need people to have an ailment in order for them to make money. The more people that are sick, the more money they make, all right? But as a thinker myself, all right, when I think about that, I mean, as somebody who thinks about the greater society, do I want a lot of people sick? I don't mind there being chemists when you need one, because yes, there are times you do need a chemist. But, all right, I can't demand to be a chemist on every corner. That means I'm actually asking for there to be a lot of sick people. So we have to change our thinking on many things. Because while the number of chemists has grown, so has disease in Kenya. Since I've been here, the cancer rates have shot up. The diabetes rates have shot up. But when we didn't have as many chemists, we didn't have as much disease. So it's something we're doing wrong. And we believe that Soul Vegetarian, Paradise Natural Living Society, and even ABI Organic Agriculture is addressing those needs, all right, whereby we can reduce the sickness load on society. And society can become more a healthy people, all right? A healthy people can build society at a much faster rate than a sick people.
And I think that the last part you mentioned about the rates of disease growing in the last several years, that also coincides with increased westernization within the country of Kenya.
Right.
And I think the part that you said about reintroducing people back to themselves and acknowledging the benefits of a lot of the traditional, primarily plant-based diets, but also broadening it for nutrition, I think is one of the best approaches, because even when you touch on specifically diabetes, there's a hospital that we have some connections with who have a entire diabetic wound care wing that they had to open up that wasn't even supposed to be there. They were focusing on eye care, but because so many people in their community, with a lot of their diets even being like a lot of potatoes, probably more than they probably should, a lot of ugali, probably more than they should,
right,
and how that turns into sugar in the stomach and things like that, was spiking the diabetes rates in those areas.
Right.
And it's not that potatoes or the ugali is a bad thing. It's about the amount. It's about how much of it takes up the full percentage of your diet. So I think that perspective of trying to broaden people's understanding of nutrition and that needing to be incorporated with those traditional food bases is a great perspective and a great strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, another question. What's your most popular dish so far?
My most what?
What's your most popular dish so far?
As far as so veg or
So,
in Kenya?
so
I'm a bit of a pizza head. Right. I love their pizzas. It's the right combination of vegetables and I like bread and these kind of things. It was the right combination of things, and I've always enjoyed pizza. So coming from my former carnivorous life, so to have that particular thing come forward is something I always enjoy taking part of. And they do get that right. And funny enough, I mean, when we first got started here, I never expected, we were trying to find our way in terms of what would sell, you know what I'm saying? And we were kind of like a bit all over the place. But when we began to look at the numbers and what people were really wanting, because we didn't want to kind of come off like a fast food joint. But when we started really considering what was selling and looking at the numbers, it was pizzas and burgers. So you got to give the people what they want. But we give the people these things in a very healthy way. So we're not Domino's, we're not Pizza Hut. I mean, even to the point where we don't even use tomato paste. We use fresh tomatoes, all right, that roasted along with organic herbs, and that's how we build out our sauce. All right, you're not gonna get that nowhere else. So while you're getting this fast foodish, if you will, type of thing, this is something that actually brings some nourishment to your body at the same time. Okay, minus all the meat stuff, by the way.
If you just want to expand on that, because I think some people don't fully understand the importance of having as much organic produce and doing things from scratch instead of having the already bottled and already pre-made sauce.
Right.
I want to dive into that a little more.
Yeah, in most restaurants that you're going to go to, particularly those in America, everything is prepackaged. All right, and it's designed for speed, not necessarily designed for your health. It's designed for speed. And even like when you go into the supermarket and you might buy a can of tomato paste. All right. I mean, most regular thinking people would, okay, tomatoes and maybe some water, you know what I'm saying? Tomato concentrate and water. I mean, maybe a little, citric acid, maybe a little salt, maybe. But what is all this E stuff? E this, E that. I mean, and when you start really analyzing, what you're getting is much more than what you really bargained for here. All right. And okay, yes, you can eat these things. All right. They're edible. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're good for you over the long term. All right. And as you were pointing to earlier, sometimes it is about balance. All right. Because sometimes you do get too much salt. All right. But if everything that you're putting in a particular dish has salt in it, then you're going to look up and your dish is going to be salty. And you look up over a course of time, over a course of weeks, over the course of months, you actually have built up a lot of sodium in your diet. All right. So that's going to put stress on your organs. All right. Because your body got to get rid of it. If there's too much of something going in, your body got to get rid of it. So, but when we're cooking at the source, all right, there are times that we go out to the farm, we literally pick it out the ground, bring it to the restaurant, and they prepare it for you. And there's nothing more beautiful than that, by the way. All right? And you prepare that thing, then you actually really begin to taste food. You're not tasting what some scientist or some group thought that tomato paste or something. I'm not picking on tomato paste. Something's what they think it should taste like, but you tasting it as God made it. And which way do you want now? Tell me. Which way is better? God's way or some kitchen scientist way? Of course.
Another question. The way out here, people have maybe different types of pizzas in them. Do you also have different types of pizzas?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We have different types of pizzas. We even have gluten-free pizzas for people, because a lot of times people who do develop wheat intolerances, all right, that certain things just they're not able to consume no more. And so we provide, that remedy for our people to still enjoy a good pizza. And actually we, unlike a lot of different places, you can actually come here, all right, and say what you want. We can give you a list of things. Okay, you can put this A, B, C, and D on it. You can actually get an a la carte kind of thing that's tailored for it. And that's a rare thing, particularly in this space, to be able to kind of walk into a place and get exactly what you need. Not simply what you want, but get exactly what you need. All right. And so we make every, we're very deliberate about that. So people can feel confident in their food, what they're getting, and feel good about it. You know what I'm saying?
I like this question. How do you convince non-vegans to try vegan food?
Well, I actually, several ways. I guess I developed an approach over years to conveying to our people the benefits of a plant-based diet, because I think it's something you have to kind of be very open-minded about to start, all right? And because you do run across those people who say, I'm going to eat meat, I don't matter what. Okay. But if I'm talking to young people, all right, because I met this when I was young, I first asked them, okay, what do you want to look like when you age? And suppose that you can look the same way you look now, you can look 20 years later. Would you do that? If somebody just told you that this is possible, would you do that? Well, yeah, of course I would. How old do you think I am? All right. And every single time, all right, I haven't met a person that has nailed it. All right. They at least give me 10 years.
I'm very curious what those watching this might think. They want to leave their guesses down in the comments. We'll reveal it at the end.
Yeah, reveal it at the end. And many times they're off by quite a few years. But trust me, I used to eat meat. I liked it. And I didn't stop eating it because I stopped liking it. You know what I'm saying? And I was good at it. You know what I'm saying? When I went to McDonald's, I got 2 of it. You know what I'm saying? I just did one Big Mac. I got 2 of them. You know what I'm saying? When I did go out and eat pizza, I ate a lot of pizza. But when somebody approached me and say, man, you can live a longer and healthier life, all right, if you eat this particular way, then it made me stop and consider that maybe I did, because I was aware enough of aunts and uncles and friends and other people who were dying who had diabetes. And I know it. I mean, young diabetes was something from outer space, so it's something that young people didn't get. You know what I'm saying? I mean, heart attacks and all these things. That's things of that nature was so far from my mind as a young person. But having some level of awareness, somebody presents me with an opportunity to live a longer and healthier life. It's at least worth a try. And I've been trying it for many years now. Seems to be working out for me. All right, because you go through your life and you don't have a cold. You used to think colds were just, I got the seasonal cold, as if a cold is something you're supposed to get. You know what I'm saying? But you become conscious of yourself, of your mind, your body in such a way that you don't even get cold. You can't even remember the last time you got a cold. That's amazing. And even though, back during COVID time, there were many of us who did get COVID, but our recovery was far better. The recovery curve was far better than many others, because so many of these diseases these days, they attack the immune system. And how you eat really determines how robust, let's say, your immune system is going to be. So I really just ask people the question, do you want to live a long and healthy life? It's really that simple. And if it's not, if I don't care, okay. You know what I'm saying? But, the scriptures was to ask for me in my house. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're going to do. All right? And be that example. You know what I'm saying? Because if you went to the dentist and he didn't have any teeth in his mouth, he or her didn't have any teeth in his mouth, you could be like, maybe not. Maybe not you. But people who actually demonstrate this way, not browbeat you into being a vegetarian, but who live the way they conduct themselves and live their lives is in a very sustainable, harmonious, and because there's a segment of us that call this the peace diet. All right? The peace diet. Why do we call it the peace diet? Because nothing has to die. In order for you to consume this, nothing has to die. And that is a real indicator of peace. Because peace is destructive. All right? But when we partake of the earth, we eat from the earth, we eat this plant-based diet, that's not a destructive thing. Because it is as if the plant says, yeah, eat me. You know what I'm saying? Consume me. All right? And if you're real familiar with, this kind of circle of life, if you will, there are certain animals. I mean, the goat. Let's take the goat. All right? Because goats eat just about everything. All right? Plants eat, they eat up everything. But when that goat poops out, or the goat, the cow, those animals that migrate, when they poop out, guess what happens with that seed? It gets planted along with nutrients. To be so, and the plant automatically, there's a symbiotic relationship. The plant automatically repopulates the earth and never dies. Now that's God talking. I don't know even whether that's a real symbiotic relationship that God has put into the earth. All right, that works to make life itself sustainable. I don't know of anything better. And as humans, we have to find a way to fit inside this because we've gotten away. We have to find a way to fit back inside this circle of life again. All right. And the beautiful thing, my brother, that being in Africa is, as Americans and Westerners, we got so far away from it. I mean, we way off track. But when I come here, you all are not far away. But the problem is you think you need to become like them. and funny enough for us, we're trying to get to where you are. So it's a strange little thing a dance going on here, all right? And but we're just here to kind of wake our brothers and sisters back up to who they really are and help them really kind of get back to how you grew up.
I think that's poetic almost, with people that objectively their ancestors are from this continent, but they are displaced, coming back to help remind the people that were always here not to forget their roots.
Right.
I think that's pretty poetic.
Another question. How long have you been on this journey? And health-wise, how has it been? Like before you started it and after you started it?
You're going to give away the quiz question. I've been on this journey for about 35 years. All right. And almost immediately after I graduated from college. All right. Having done a lot of damage to myself there. And it's a constant journey of learning. All right. Because as quiet as it's kept, that being a vegan is not about simply just a dietary change. It is really a mental shift that you have to make, because there are some, who kind of go in and out of it that, okay, when this thing is not available, okay, I'll default back to whatever, you know what I'm saying? But that's not a choice for us, you know what I'm saying? If it's not available, many times we'll just fast, you know what I'm saying? If the thing we need is not available, because everything for us is about nourishing our bodies, all right? And nourishing our bodies and our minds. So when we approach it like that, we're constantly learning, okay, what else is there? Okay. Once you find that pot of gold, let's just say, once you get to the end of the rainbow on this, you find it in the next pot of gold, and paying attention to your body in other kind of ways. Because I found out, I used to get congestion, all right, and I thought I was having a cold, but I was having an allergic reaction to cashews. All right. So I came like, okay, I can't eat that. It's not that I didn't like cashews. I loved it. They're a wonderful little nut. You know what I'm saying? But I have to become a lot more conscious about making sure that's not on my plate. And take the time to explore other things that I could have. And because of that, you know what I'm saying, and many health purists, if you will always tell you that a lot of disease begins with mucus and inflammation. All right, that's Dr. Sadie types will always tell you something like that. And it's a consciousness. You have to become more conscious about your body. And if, going back to the school again, if we make children conscious about what they put in their bodies at a very early, they're going to get a whole different set of outcomes. I mean, I have young children, and I'm just intrigued to see how they will develop. Because, I did a lot of damage to my body early on, playing sports and just how I ate. But they haven't had that, all right? So I want to be around long enough to see what kind of outcomes they can get, from this lifestyle, from this this plant-based diet, from this peace diet. I want to see them benefit from the same thing that has benefited me for so many years.
All right. So before we transition to some other critical topics, I think that it's important that we kind of give not just people that are vegans or vegetarians, but people that, even if they do eat meat, trying to be a bit more health conscious, kind of giving them a way to help bridge that gap. Mm-hmm. So if there's something that you could say to those that, meat's going to always be part of their diet, but they are very much so open to and looking for alternatives, things that they can do with their diet, whether it's eating these kinds of plants, these kind of fruits, whatever. What exactly would you say to those people that fall into that category, so that they do have a bit more tools that they can use at their disposal?
I would just simply say, start slow. Get a day where you take more salad in, where you drink more water, and see how you feel. Because really, to some degree, what's going to drive all this is how you feel. And if consuming more plants in your diet makes you feel better, then do it. All right? And I'm 100% guaranteed that you're going to feel better. All right? That move away from less processed, but once again, it's a mentality here. All right? It is about being conscious about the chemicals, even though not even, just, to some degree. People will tell you that Oreos are vegan. Yeah, they are. But what about this other stuff they got in them as well? You know what I'm saying? So, once we raise our consciousness about things and we include more plant-based, things into our diet, and we feel better because of that, then it becomes habitual. All right? It's something that you do every day. Something becomes a part of your life. And you're going to look up down the road. You're going to look better. You're going to feel better. And you're going to get sick less. And that's a win. That's a win for everybody. That's a win for everybody.
There we go. All right, Dennis.
For those transitioning to vegan stuff, how do you make their whole process smooth? How do you make the meals tasting or how do you do that?
Many people have come down this road in many different ways. All right. And I think it's really individual choice. Sometimes it's harder than others, particularly if, let's say, if you are a mother and you feel good about a vegan diet, but the rest of your family members, it's kind of like, I don't know. Because you got to have a support team with this. I'll say that up front. All right, it works much better if you've got a support team to help you, and a place like Soul Edge can help bridge that, because people when people start talking about, okay, what you can't eat, many times they approach it like that because they don't know what they can eat. And when you don't know what you can eat, for somebody coming away taking something away, you can be like, oh my God, I'm going to die. You know what I'm saying? And so places like Soul Veg can help people see, okay, I can still eat a pizza, I can still have a donut, I can still have a cupcake, I can still enjoy what I eat without feeling like, I'm missing out. It's the FOMO thing. You feel like you're missing out on something by not eating these other things. And so it's a part of a journey. But I encourage everybody, just take the first step. Don't try to just, change overnight, because if you rush into it, then it's much easier to rush out of it. But if you make it a step by step, you make it a journey, all right, then you're much likely to get to your destination rather than run back to where you came from.
Perfect. Take it slow. All right. So we've touched on a lot from mindsets and approaches that want to be taken for the betterment of the future, for the planet, humanity as a whole. Gave a lot of good information to those that are curious about transitioning to veganism, vegetarianism. There's a lot of gems there. And we touched on, the restaurant, we touched on Paradise, the school. But I want to end this off with something that's your baby, YTL. And if you could just give us a breakdown of what it is, why it began, and its purpose moving forward, as everything we've discussed so far has that purpose tied to it. So if you could just let the people know what that is.
YTL Enterprises really grew out of a relationship with me and my son, and whose name is YTL. He took different letters of the name, and we came up with this business model. Because with everything that has been discussed, people have to know, all right? Everything that we know has been, to some degree, marketed to us. You know what I'm saying? We learned it from somewhere. And the images that we see, the words on the paper, somebody was shaping a dialogue or a narrative that fit into their worldview. So part of what YTL Enterprises does is use modern technology to propagate a view of truth. All right, such in a way that our people can relate to it, that's not foreign for them. All right, because as we discussed earlier, that so many things have been defined outside of ourselves. All right, and there has to be those who can harness the technology of the day. All right. And some many years ago, it was a printing press. You know what I'm saying? People had to learn to be printers in order for them to create a flyer or brochure for people to know what was going on. And if we do not know how to implement these tools on behalf of our people, then we're stuck again. Because one thing I've understood, me and my son understood it long time, that Microsoft needs the small business needs the same thing that Microsoft needs. People need to know that they're there and what they do, all right? But the small SMEs doesn't necessarily have the big Microsoft budgets to pull it off. So hence, everybody knows who Microsoft is, but everybody might not know who Soul Vegetarian is, all right? So, YTL Enterprises is one of those agencies that help people know, all right, the little people, by which we can create economies and people can grow their business at scale to where they need to go, to developing that social media awareness, developing the handouts, because believe it or not, everything that you see, all right, that has some tinge of marketing. A graphic designer, all right, now it has a website associated with it. Now it has a social media handle associated with it. And these things are all interconnected in such a way that create a point of knowing, all right, that an awareness that people can partake of a particular product or service. But minus that, you simply don't know. And any business is just really kind of hoping that somebody comes by and supports them. And in these days and times when the business climate is quite competitive, the only thing that can give you a marketing edge is awareness. So we help create that awareness. My son had an untimely passing, and so not that his dream dies about what he wanted. We're continuing this. We have relocated to a new place, bringing all of these elements together to support this bigger vision of being a blessing to humanity. Because the YTL comes from a name, YTL. It means God will deliver. God will deliver. So organizations, all right, because it says that I will do nothing except through my servants and the prophets, those who imbue that spirit of God, that he will come through different organizations, whatever they might be, but they, at their core, all right, they have to represent that God essence, all right, that at the end of the day is not just a sale, it's not just a pizza, it's not just a burger, it's not just a website, but it's something by which humanity is served in an important way. So we bring all these things together to make sure that humanity and the environment has its greatest opportunity. That young child has its greatest opportunity to be, to exist, to live, to grow, and to expand. And that's what we do. That's the core of what we're about. I sound kind of preachy. I didn't come here to preach today.
It's all good. That's what legacy is.
Yes.
You know, that's what legacy is. So I think that anyone that's watching this, regardless of their belief system, perspective on how people should operate throughout life and things of that nature, I think the one thing they can all agree on is if whatever you're pursuing is with the purpose of bettering humanity, bettering those around you, the community around you, and making sure that you leave that community and that place better once you're gone.
For sure.
I think we can all agree with that.
We have to. Because when we began to kind of walk this thing back through time, all right, that for those of us who believe in the Bible, right, not everyone does, but for those of us that do, all right, you can go back to such a point where these religions and these differences didn't even exist. They weren't even around in the beginning. Okay? And none of these other things were around. What were we then? You were just simply a son and daughter of God. That was it. That's the only title that mattered. You either did his will or you didn't. That was it. That was a demarcation. And there has to be a journey back to that. Just once again, becoming removing all these vestiges of clothing that we have and that have separated us into different tribes. All right. But this bigger umbrella now that we got to come up under is truth. And what's right? What's right for us? What's right for the environment? All right. And if we get those things right, all right, we can indeed live healthier and happier lives. Because this conflict that we see taking place in the world today is simply due to the greed of men. All right. How much is enough? You know what I'm saying? And when you begin to live, and as I said before, this is about a change of mind. That if my belly is full, then let it be full. I don't have to overeat because my belly is full. But society has turned off a switch in us that we have this insatiable appetite and greed for things that don't even matter. You know what I'm saying? We want more of everything. All right? And what's even worse, we want more of everything, but we're getting even less back. And these are the things we have to change. These are the things we have to change. Starting with the little ones. And it's going to take some generations to pull this off, because it took generations to get like this. It's going to take some generations to change it, but we have to start somewhere. And then what we've been able to do here is really our attempt, you know what I'm saying, with the blessings of the Creator. It's just our attempt to make our footprint that others might follow this path. Okay?
Hey, I couldn't have ended that better myself.
Hallelujah.
There we go. Man, I hope that this was an eye-opening, like perspective-shifting moment to people that are watching this. Even if only a little bit, that it pivots them a bit closer in an orientation that's going to be for the benefit of everybody. So before we close, is there any websites you want to mention people can reach out for, like YTL, for support in school, any like emails you want to drop that people can contact if they want to know more, things like that?
Right. I would simply really point people to Paradise Natural Living Society, all right, .com, and start your journey there, all right, because just as the name suggests, we want to be in paradise and we want to live, all right. We want to be in paradise and we want to live. That's what we're pushing for, and if we can start our journey there, you'll find me there. You'll find Soul Veg there. You'll find ABI Organic. You'll find everything that we are. It'll be there waiting on you. All right. Thank you so much.